We know that you and Sabrina get a little closer this season. What can you say about that relationship and how it kind of evolves?
I think it's, I think their relationship really complements each other well. What with Sabrina taking on this darker edge and her witchy side, Nick's really privy to that world and is a good partner as far as all that goes. And the affection that Nick had for her in season 1, and or all the chemistry and feelings that he felt for her, he's just starting to kind of dive into and explore what love is.
Well, on that note, he said last season that, you know, witches and warlocks can't really fall in love because the Dark Lord is such a jealous kind of ruler. So is his relationship with Sabrina changing that in any way?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily if witches and warlocks can't fall in love. I just think that that's not their, that's not what they know.
Yeah.
They know lust and passion,
Yeah.
and that's a really beautiful thing that Nick is very curious about. You know, you can sense a little bit of the bitterness, like, hey, he's a dark, jealous lord and he wants us to love just him. And yeah, he gets to kind of dip into those feelings that he's having and explore them.
Do we get more context for maybe his family or background? Because we don't really know that much about him in the first season.
Yeah, yeah, we'll definitely touch on like more of his background. It comes like in the middle of the second part. He you hear like who his familiar is and her story and their relationship, and yeah, that's a really fun episode actually.
Do we learn more about Nick's specific relationship to the Dark Lord, since Nick scratchers both names for the devil? So
right. Which, you know what, that's such a...
theory that he's the devil.
I know, and like it's so interesting to hear that a lot, because I don't really think that there is a tie to the Dark Lord. I could be wrong, but I mean, I think his perspective of everything shifts when Sabrina comes into play. You know, he sees how misogynistic and sort of regressive the whole witch community, or this particular witch academy, has sort of been. And when Sabrina comes into that, he starts to see that things need to be shaken up a bit, and that, you know, I think that's something that really brings them closer and tighter, is that they share a similar perspective as far as helping this world progress in a more positive light.
Usually in love triangles and like teenage love triangles and stories, we have like the main couple and then the guy that comes in as the foil, and he's usually the bad boy. But you know, as we saw in the first season, you know, though Harvey was like essentially the good guy, Nick is not just the bad boy. He actually is a pretty good guy himself. So what are we going to see from that love triangle in season 2? Is it still going to be a love triangle, or have we kind of moved on from that, and like where do you see Nick fit into that trope?
You know, I don't think their love ever really dies. I mean, and you know, that's kind of a question for life too. Like if it completely ever goes out for someone that you loved, you know, I mean, they were each other's first love, and it was like there's so much beauty between them, and it's evident on screen as their characters have all this chemistry. So there are, like, Nick definitely has some questions about him still, and is kind of weary of Harvey's presence when it comes around, but also kind of has a liking for him as well, in a way where he was able to experience this thing that's love as well with Sabrina, and there's this fascination that Nick has for that too, I think. So he's not like his enemy, and he's not like his friend. He's like his frenemy in a way. You know, it's kind of like in between. He's like, all right, he's fine to be around, and you know, I'll help and he'll help, and we both love the same girl. Yeah.
Just to follow up, what did you think of how Nick wasn't just the stereotypical like bad boy foil for Harvey?
Yeah, that was really important for me too, because I grew up watching shows like, I grew up with women, so I watched Gilmore Girls growing up. And Jess, played by Milo, I was just like, that was such the cool bad boy character, and he was very like clearly the bad boy, but he also had these elements where he like read poetry and books and was a deep thinker and sensitive. So there was a lot of that inspired me to bring that in for Nick as well. I didn't want him to just be like this, charming and like ill-intended kind of guy. I wanted there to be this curiosity, and it was really driven by the curiosity of love for what brought that light in to be Nick as well.
Do you think the streaming model and the fact that people can watch all at once helped to kind of make that easier for you? Because I almost feel like we don't have, 4 months of people saying like, okay, it's ride or die with Harvey.
Right. Could you restate the question?
Do you think that the delivery system, like having Netflix be able to drop everything at once so people can watch and binge, helped the fans kind of accept your character in a way that it would have been hard to do on Gilmore Girls?
Oh, sure. Like if it was all coming out one by one. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the lovely thing about Netflix. I'm a binger, like if I find a show that I really like, I'm going to invest the time and spend 2 nights, maybe a night, depending on the show, just watching the whole thing to get the whole scope, and then it feels like this epic 10-hour movie, and that's kind of how I prefer to watch it. And yeah, I really think this is a very binge-worthy show. This is a show that I feel like you want to see what's happening next. And because it's on this platform, it makes it really, conducive to getting the whole scope of what's happening in the story.
With Nick getting closer to Sabrina, will we see him interacting more with the other Spellmans? Because that's something that Harvey really wasn't able to do in the same way, because he didn't know Sabrina's secret.
Right, yeah. There's definitely some more interaction with, especially with Hilda, which Lucy's so much fun to work with. And we were shooting last night, and we had this scene where we had to, we walk off in like the middle of it, and we had to just sit quietly in the back, and we were just kind of sitting for the first couple takes, and then we started playing a staring contest game. And Lucy swore that she wasn't blinking, but she would go, okay, 1, 2, 3, go. I was like, Lucy, you're blinking, that's cheating. So she's just so much fun and just such a goofball, and yeah, she's a blast to be around. And yeah, a bit more than Ambrose as well. Yeah,